All right, so this is going to start the endocrine system. So the endocrine system, you're going to have the hypothalamus, which will be the control center of the endocrine system. This will control the pituitary gland, which is the master gland. You'll have a lot of hormones that are secreted from the pituitary. So the pituitary will direct hormones to the endocrine glands. And the hypothalamus, for example, it will release hormones such as ADH and oxytocin. So oxytocin is contractions in labor, and ADH is going to be fluid in the reabsorption of fluid in the excretory system. Okay, so in the endocrine system, you're going to have a whole bunch of different types of glands that hormones act on. All right. So number one, you've got the pituitary glands. And here you have thyroid glands, which are metabolism, and the hormones that are produced are T3 and T4, which are for metabolism of calcium. And you are also going to have the parathyroid. And in the parathyroid, the parathyroid will do the calcium. Parathyroid is calcium plus 2, and this is used for action potentials and bone growth. You know, milk has a lot of calcium in it. You really want to drink your milk. All right, so your next glands are going to be the adrenal glands. Oops. All right, so your adrenal glands. You're going to have two types. So in the adrenaline glands, okay, your kidneys, the outside will be the cortex, and your in will be the medulla. So while we're actually here, let's just go ahead and do the medulla. The medulla will be the catecholamines, which are very important in nervous system responses. So it's going to be your epi and norepinephrine. These are flight and fight. And your cortex, this is going to be steroids that are made. So a very common steroid is cortisol, which is increase in blood sugar and suppressing the immune system. Okay. next you're going to have the gonads. Actually, I'm going to start switching my colors now. In the gonads, you've got ovaries and testes. Ovaries will be estrogen. Testes will produce testosterone. Okay, and both of these will be important in developing secondary sex characteristics. In women, you'll have enlargement of the hips, and men, you'll have deepening of the voice and growth of pubic hair. And lastly, we're going to have the pancreas. Pancreas is very important for metabolism. So you've got alpha cells, which will produce glucagon. And glucagon's main function is to break fats to sugar. And sugar is usually glucose. The beta cells will release insulin. And the function of insulin is to induce uptake of glucose into cells. One thing I want to note here is type 1 diabetes is a result of beta insulin. So it's actually your immune cells break down your beta insulin cells. So no beta insulin will lead to no beta cells will lead to no insulin, which means you have to use insulin supplements to get your cells to take up glucose. All right, cool. All right, we got that done. I'm going to put a little division right here. All right, up next. So we're going to talk about how the hypothalamus and pituitary gland work together. So you're going to have two different types. You're going to have tropic, and you're also going to have direct. So direct hormones are PGE, which is prolactin, growth hormone, and also endorphins. And tropic are flat. And okay, so these hormones are going to be FSH, luteinizing hormone, ACTH, and you are going to have the TRH. All right, so let's put the functions in red. These two are important in reproduction. FSH will be estrogen. ACTH, it's going to be stimulate adrenal glands. And TRH is thyroid hormones, so you've got your T3 and your T4. The 3 and 4 are really just how many iodines are attached. So that's triiodo, and this is tetraiodo. The direct hormones, you've got growth. So this is for bones to grow. Prolactin is inducing milk for infants. And you have endorphins, which will suppress any pain that you feel. A lot of these are working through negative feedback loops. Basically, what this means is that production stops the top of the cycle. So you'll have, like, let's say you've got a hormone here, it's produced. This will go back and shut that off. All right, now we're going to talk about the different types of hormone classes. All right, there's going to be three different types. Type 1 is going to be peptides. As the name suggests, peptides are proteins. Type 2 will be steroids. And type 3 are tyrosine derivatives. All right. All right, so peptides. These are very prolific in your body. These are made in the ER and then shipped to the Golgi for modification. You're gonna use secondary messengers, and essentially what this means is that binding will induce intracellular response. And because peptides are polarized, these are going to be in the bloodstream. They're going to be dissolved in the bloodstream. So you got steroids now. So steroids are usually lipids. And usually what these are going to be is they're going to have a four-ring structure, three being cyclohexane and one is cyclopentane. What else? These are usually primary messengers. And what I mean by that is that you're going to have direct change of transcription. So it'll directly act on the nucleus. Usually steroids are the adrenal gonads, adrenal organs plus gonads. And lastly, you have tyrosine derivatives. This is basically one. Sorry, I shouldn't be. This is one amino acid. Usually this is T3 and T4 from the thyroid, so this is actually for metabolism. And these are your catecholamines. So your epi, nor epi. These are also known as flight or fight. All right. So I'm going to go more into your the action of the hormones. All right. Secondary messengers. All right. Secondary messengers. So here's a basic idea how these work. So secondary messengers will bind to a receptor in the cell membrane. You'll have a chain reaction inside the cell. And this is usually intracellular response. Actually, they're both intracellular responses. So the way this is going to work is you're going to have hormone, which will bind to a receptor, affect a G protein, and then GTP is used to move the G protein and activate an ATP and cyclic AMP cascade. And then the CAMP is basically a signaler. And what that's going to do is that's going to activate a protein cascade. So the basic idea for these secondary hormones is going to be, it's going to be a hormone which will work on a G protein, which will activate CAMP amplification. On the other hand, you've got primary messengers. Okay, so what this is going to be is steroids, usually ending in all, and these are nonpolar. So they can cross the cell membrane. And when they cross, because these guys can cross the cell membrane, you're not going to have this whole like intermediate middleman process. So what these are actually going to do is they are going to bind to cytosol / nucleus receptors. And what these are ultimately going to do is you're going to have a change in transcription. And if you remember, transcription is going to produce a protein. So basic idea here, that's actually a basic idea there. So basic idea for for primary messengers is you're going to have primary messenger, which will induce transcription, and this will ultimately make a protein. And then the protein can be, modified in the Golgi apparatus, shipped off, or act on itself.